Welcome to a brand new episode of the Post Game. I am your host, Davion, and today I am joined by Matt,
What up?
Gabe, here, Oronde,
What's poppin'?
and Freddie.
Yo,
And today we are back with our brand or season 2 now of the Let's Talk series. It's been one of my favorite series to record for the past year, 2 years, and now we are going for season 2 of the Let's Talk series for NFL. We are starting off the series with the NFC South. So before we even start today, leave your comments down below what division we should do next. Leave your comments down below of what your favorite team is, and we're gonna talk about every single team in NFL. So get ready for that content to come out. But today we are starting with the Atlanta Falcons. None of us here are Falcons fans, but you have a Patriots fan, a Saints fan, a Steelers fan, and three now Carolina Panthers fans. So I mean, this is gonna be a fun series, man. But it's
buddy.
upside down. What in the hell?
Yeah,
But first off, the Atlanta Falcons, they've gone out this offseason. They've done some work. They signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $180 million deal. They drafted Michael Penix with the 8th overall pick. They picked up a brand new head coach, got Arthur Smith up out of there. They've done a lot of other things, but in particular, what have y'all noticed about this Atlanta Falcons team this offseason? And what do y'all think?
They made some interesting moves that they're dearly going to pay for later on. I mean, Kirk is already throwing at OTAs. That's a good thing for them. But
Is it
like, who wants Ray McLeod the third? I'm gonna be so for real. Like, why is he on this roster? They went and got more tight ends. Like, they don't have Kyle Pitts. It's just questionable moves through and through. Not to mention that they're the people that they drafted. Let me not get started on Michael Penix. What's the point? What are you trying to gain here?
How do we feel about that Penix? With one answer, well, one word answer, yes or no. Do we think that was an okay decision? Yes or no?
No.
No.
It just doesn't make
I'm
sense. It's more
I'm
confusing.
okay.
I will say this. I feel like Michael Penix in their draft class was not their worst pick. Like they made some really bad picks in that draft.
Which is the problem. Which is
No
even
defense
worse.
whatsoever, by the way. No defense.
Yes, that
No,
was their
they
main
drafted the
issue.
D tackle in the second, but there was a better guy on the board, and they drafted some guy that nobody knew who he was.
Here's
So
the
like,
thing. I heard a thing from the GM that they basically drafted Penix as obviously security for Kirk
sure.
Cousins. And his whole thing is, yes, we won't be in the top 10 again. Now, who knows if that happens or not, but realistically, if you wanted a Penix, why not just trade back and get him later instead of spending a top 10 pick on him, or just draft the best defensive player there at the time?
Well, I think
he wasn't
I
leaving
think
at
that
10.
I don't think he was going to be in the. I don't think he was going to be available outside of the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
So I listen. My thing.
It
When I
might have
look at
been
that
first
pick,
round, but it's too high
I mean,
for
even
him.
get Bo Nix.
I mean, but look where Bo Nix and
Bo
the other
Nix at
kid went
8.
though. They went 11 and 12.
No.
Bo
Not
Nix
at
is
8, but they
better.
trade back and they get Bo Nix, let's say, instead
Bo
of
Nix
Dodge.
went at 12. Like regardless, all these quarterbacks were going to be gone.
Yeah,
They went
100%.
high
By 12.
because Penix went earlier than he
Yeah.
was anticipated to go.
Right.
So
Well,
they
no,
all
I think
doubled
they were
up
gonna
because the
go
Atlanta
anyway,
Falcons are
though.
stupid.
Wait, the Raiders were on the board. Denver
The
was obviously
Jets,
going to get a quarterback. The
they
Jets
weren't going
were
to
going
get
to
one.
do something. Like this was like these things were going to happen. I think the quarterback. Listen, it's rare that we see quarterbacks leave the first round. I think we saw Will Levis go into trickle down to the second round last year because of his questionability. But regardless of that statement, I think when I look at it, I'm like Freddie. I do not hate the pick, but you going and paying Kirk Cousins, who's 30, whatever, 35 years old, 34 years old, something like that. He just coming off an Achilles injury. Like, why would you give him a 4-year contract? Like, that just doesn't make logical sense. And so, if for me, I'm pissed off about that. Like, that's just way too much time that you've committed to a quarterback. And as a Saints fan, I know that feeling right now. So I don't know. I just think there's a lot of holes that you could have went and spent that money on, and getting Kirk Cousins was not the right move, personally thinking.
And people are saying that Kirk overreacted to them drafting Penix, but no one fucking knew they were going to do that.
Yeah.
Even Arthur Blank was upset.
If we're honest,
what did Kirk do? Kirk left because he left Minnesota because he didn't want, because they were going to go after quarterback, and that frustrated him. That's why he left. And so I understand, but it's like, it's a business. Get out of here. Go ahead, man.
Honestly, this would have just looked a little better. Let's say they still had Ritter, right? And they don't sign Kirk Cousins. Then you draft Penix. I'm like, okay, I see that.
Oh no,
Ritter is trash. Period. That dude is terrible.
But here, I see what you're saying, but I feel like they didn't want to fall into the same category what happened last year. Let's say Penix isn't ready this year, and Desmond Ritter is still god awful. You're wasting a year of a good talented roster. Right. Now you have Penix when literally he can sit behind Kirk Cousins, come in every so often, just be there and learn from him. I would have said, I feel like the draft pick for Penix wouldn't be that bad if it was a 1 or 2 year deal for Kirk Cousins. It was the fact that it was 4 years.
No, 100% agree. I mean, even 3 years would have been suffice. I'm okay with a 3-year deal.
Yeah, right. But you signed him to a 4-year deal.
Long time.
And it's that, Kirk Cousins, if he gets one more injury, it might be wraps for him.
Yeah, so that's why that's old. Right, and that's why you get paid. And
at least his deal is team friendly.
Right.
Is it at the minimum? Right. It is.
But then also another thing too, where people are saying they should have went other needs. What other needs do they truly have? If you think about besides O-line, they have receivers, they have a tight end, running back. Their defense was a top 10 defense last year. What else do they truly need?
Hey, Freddie spitting. All right.
I mean, I think they could have gotten some better DNs. That's probably it for the defense.
I mean, yeah, but we
saw DNs didn't go till later.
Until the first defensive player was 15.
Until 30 something, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, the first DN he was 15th to the Colts, but still
the Colts
want us to get him.
Yeah, I want but that's what I'm saying. I mean, you might as well.
Sorry, I mixed up the wrong position. I thought y'all were talking about D-backs. That's on me.
No. Oh yeah, they did go late too, but
they went 22.
Yeah, defense just went late in this draft because it was an offensive heavy draft. And then, to piggyback on what you said, Matt was why not trade back? You can still get them. I don't think any of those quarterbacks are leaving 12 because the team would have. Because I think there were reports the Raiders wanted Penix, the Seahawks wanted Penix.
I mean, you think about it.
Minnesota probably would have.
Minnesota, you have the Rams who have a Sam or Matthew Stafford who's gonna be trickling out in the next year or two.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many players that I think, or so many teams that I think would have traded up if Penix. Listen, I think if Penix going at 8, regardless, he wasn't gonna go out of the top 15 because the Raiders went and got Brock Bowers when they when they were fiending for a quarterback all offseason. Fiending for one.
I just remembered something that Kirk Cousins. First of all, he has a no trade clause in his contract, so if he leaves, it's going to be all him, and he's going to cost the team, I think, close to $80 million. But when it comes to the draft, I don't understand the Raiders' decision either. But that's going to be a conversation for another day.
I see what you're saying.
Oh yeah. We'll get to that. I'm excited about that because I think I don't hate the decision. So when we look at Atlanta, what do we think some of their weaknesses are? And what do we think their weaknesses are? And what do you actually think is pretty good from Atlanta? What are we praising for Atlanta?
They got good free agents. They just wet the bed during the draft.
Yeah.
Well, I think they good loosely.
A top 10 offense this year. That's my positive with them.
You said top 10 offense this season?
They have a good running back room. They have a good tight end. Well, I won't say good. They have a nice tight end room, but it's one of those things where it looks great on paper, and they have a developing offense, so they have a high ceiling, but they also have a really low floor.
I
Right.
mean,
Mm.
I get what you're saying, but think about it though. Like I saw a stat that in the past 3 drafts, in the top 10 picks, they drafted a running back, receiver, and a tight end, and then now a quarterback. I believe. I want to say that was 4 straight years in. Like,
Yes.
so they're spending high draft picks on these offensive players that are considered franchise players. So I feel like Bijan is going to be that good running back for them. Drake London showed a lot of flashes last year, even with Desmond Ritter as his quarterback. And
Mm.
before that, he had Marcus Mariota. And then now you have
Mm.
you still have Kyle Pitts as well, which I don't think he's bad. I just think the
I don't think
quarterback
so.
play has been just
I can't wait
horrible.
for Drake London's fantasy stock to go up because I have him in one of my keeper leagues.
I'm telling
I
you,
mean,
like
you look
he's
at
like Drake London's gonna be good.
so when you look at let's look at that. Whoa. Let's look at their offense right now. The 4 players that we just named. Kyle Pitts, Bijan, Drake London, and then Kirk Cousins, or wherever your quarterback is going to be. That right there is a recipe for a franchise offense for a long time, correct? And if
Yeah.
their
Correct.
team can be used, if those guys can be used better than Arthur Smith, whatever he was doing, if they can be used and brought their potential out, they will be a threat in the NFL for a very long time. And so, I mean, from that perspective, I think the future of Atlanta definitely looks up. And I think the future of our division looks up. There's a lot of young talent around our division completely, except in Tampa. I don't know what they're doing. And so I just think when I look at Atlanta, I don't know if they're going to be great, but I also don't think that they're not gonna be bad. They're not gonna be a bad football team. They're gonna piss some people off because of their offense. And like you
I
said, Freddie, they had a top 10 defense last year. Like that's nothing to go home about either.
right. Like, and people are saying they should have got corners. Why? You have
Yeah,
you have Ed what's his name? Terrell, AJ Terrell. You have Jesse Bates back there, like,
yeah.
and then they have other young, good, talented defensive backs. The D line's is good. Hopefully, they can get more sacks. But um, that's what I'm saying. I think they'll get 10 wins. Honestly, I think they'll get 10.
Whew,
Is that?
10? They
I think
winning
they'll
your
get
division?
10. I think they're
And
gonna win the division, and I think the Bucks are gonna get like 9, and then it's gonna be between Carolina and the Saints that are like the worst.
You get like
So
two,
wait, let's
two or
look at
three.
actually. I don't know if they have the.
Like, we'll get
They don't
6.
have it. They don't have the schedule
I'll
posted
say
yet.
this too. This is the best offense I think Kirk Cousins has ever had in his career.
And defense. Don't forget about
And
that.
defense. So
Only, yeah.
if he underperforms, I don't know who to blame. Because
If he underperforms, it'd be crazy because he's a amazing regular season player, and it's the Falcons. They won't have a lot of primetime games, so he has more room to shine because he's
So
not good in primetime.
let's look at their schedule. They have Carolina, the Saints. I think they'll probably split with both
New
of us. I
England
think they'll split with every single team in the division. They'll split. They have the
I can see
Dallas
it.
Cowboys,
that's a loss.
the New York Giants, the Kansas
Win.
City
It's a
Chiefs,
win. That's a loss.
Loss.
Wait.
the LA
You think they're
Chargers.
gonna lose to the? You think they're gonna lose to the Cowboys?
Yes.
Cowboys are going to have an off season this season. That's
You
my
said what?
prediction
Yeah,
right
but
now.
like obviously they haven't had a good off season, but like realistically they don't really need a lot either.
Well,
'Cause
I don't think
they've
they. I
already
think
been good.
they're going to have one of them seasons where it's like they start off with or they're going to have 7 wins and they're going to fire their head coach in December. That's what I think Dallas is going to happen.
That's not looking.
Because
I can see it
the
going
rest of their
away.
division got better. But let's go back to they got the Chiefs, they have the Chargers. A
That's a
loss, I
win.
think. Stop
I
it.
think the Chargers. That's gonna be a good game.
Chargers
That's gonna be a
offense
really
is
good game.
much worse this year.
But their
Herbert
coaching
is
still
staff
got-
doing
is
nothing.
different.
And they still
That's
got number
true,
10
Harbaugh.
quarterback. They still have
You
number
got
10
Seattle
quarterback.
Seahawks.
That
Win.
Atlanta
That's gonna
will
be
probably win that
close.
one. That's gonna be close.
It's in Atlanta. You have the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, loss.
That's a loss.
Stop it.
It's a loss.
Really?
That's a loss.
That's
Steelers.
a loss.
I trust Steelers defense over everything in that game.
Thank you.
Stop it up,
But
man.
what
All
about
right.
the offense though? Like,
Whoa. We got a Super Bowl champion back
We'll
there.
see
Don't
how
worry about
we'll
that.
see how we'll see
Don't
how
worry
Russ
about that.
is, but I don't know.
That's the MVP, man. We got the MVP back there.
Stop
right
it. Whatever. 15 years ago. All right. You got the
Mm-mm.
Denver Broncos,
Win.
Win.
Raiders.
win.
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 The Eagles,
Loss.
the
like
Commanders,
Boston
and then
to
the
be.
Vikings.
Commanders and Vikings. Loss.
win-win.
I think the
loss.
Falcons win it.
Or no, win-win. Excuse me.
Like, what you said,
All
the
right,
Commanders?
So I mean, you just named out about 12 wins, Matt. Not gonna lie to you.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, Atlanta's not bad. Like Atlanta, this is the best I've ever seen Atlanta since like their Super Bowl run.
And I like their coach too.
And it's
Raheem
not like
I
they
do
were
Morris
getting
is
too.
blown
solid.
out
What's his
last
name?
season
Coach.
either. There was a lot of
Raheem
one-score
Morris.
games.
Morris.
Because of the quarterback play.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of games that went down to the wire. But as we begin to wrap up, we're gonna do this in every single video. Where do we put them in their division? So first, second, third, or fourth. Where do we think they'll finish?
First.
I think they're gonna be first.
I think they'll be first as well.
I'll give
I
them
think-
second.
First.
I think their
I'll
ceiling.
say second.
I think their ceiling is 12-5. Floor is 7-10.
I'm okay with that. I'll give them floors probably 9.
9 is
Because
the
I think
floor.
that team is going to be hungrier behind their new head coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Atlanta fans, you guys are awful. We know that as Saints and Panthers fans. So we'll be intrigued to see what you guys have to say about that. Let us know how you feel about Kirk Cousins, and let us know how you feel about your head coach. I've been your host, Davion. That's been the rest, and this has been the post game. Peace.